Marquetta Williams. Thank you for watching Joy in Our Town on TBN. We are here at the Atlanta Beltline in Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. It feels kind of late to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year. Now, did you make a New Year's resolution? Are you keeping it or are you struggling with it? Well, I have one too. I call it Operation 30-Pound Dropper. And I'm already 3 weeks into it and I've stayed on track. What about you? Now in this show, we want to introduce you to some people who want to help people like you and me work on our weight and managing our nutrition. Even if you're not trying to lose weight, I'm confident something you'll see or hear today will help you. And as we take you on a trip around the Beltline, maybe it'll inspire you to get moving where you live. Our first story is about a young woman who is a boxer, she's a trainer, as well as a nutritionist. She also has a nonprofit organization. Now her goal is to knock out obesity, fight mental health, and conquer bullying. Plus, she taught me a thing or two. Take a look. Jessica, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about fitness first. When you look at you, you can tell you're fit.
Oh,
what kind of made you want to be fit?
Health. Health is number one reason. You always want to make sure that you're healthy at all points and times and necessary. So many people wait until they have a health scare to take their health serious. So seriously, like, people need to make sure they know and that they're aware of their bodies and what's going on internally as well as externally.
So now I know a lot of people say, okay, I want to make a New Year's resolution.
Right.
Part of that New Year's resolution is getting fit. But let's just say if I'm 30, 40, 100 pounds overweight.
Right.
I know a lot of people go all in.
Right.
But what's the best way when you have been out of shape for a long time?
Right. The best way is to take it slow. You never want to overextend yourself to where you get discouraged when you fail at your goals. So let's set small, attainable goals first and then master those and achieve those.
So now what people also don't know is that you used to box.
Yes.
And you were amazing at boxing.
Yes.
Most women, you don't see them wanting to box, and the ones who look like you with this pretty face. What made you want to do that?
So I always wanted to box. My parents will never let me. I was training for the Olympics. I lost in the semifinals, unfortunately. When I was younger, I saw that Mike Tyson fight against Evander Holyfield. I was 3 years old.
You mean the ear incident?
Yes.
Okay.
I was 3 years
Who
old
didn't see that?
because it was in 1995.
Okay.
And then I just remember boxing and it stuck out to me. After that, I found out about Layla Ali. And then I found out that girls can box. And then I was so intrigued. Anything that you do every day, you're going to be good at is repetition. Learned the skill, mastered it. So I have a program, it's called Beyond the Body, because young women 11 to 14 are the highest rate of suicide. Because you're transitioning from middle school into high school, and it's at a rate where you don't know who you are. Image becomes apparent. So like as a child, you've been given food from day one and you have no concept of image. You have no concept of fitness goals. You have no concept of your body. And if your parents are overweight and been giving you food, you end up overweight because it's a cycle within your family. So it concentrates on mental health, but it also concentrates, so it's knock out obesity, fight mental health, and conquer bullying. Okay. And it's under the Fight for Your Life umbrella, which is my LLC. Because as I was training for the Olympics, there were so many people fighting diabetes, cholesterol, weight issues. So there are some girls that feel like they're not pretty at all. And so that's what a lot of these exercises are for, to let them know that there are girls. And I also work with a chapter at Spelman. Actually, I implement it on Spelman's campus. And so we go out to schools and then teach girls.
So what do you teach them?
It's all about the community.
What do you teach them?
Self-image, love, making sure you're aware of your body, because that's the point where they're starting puberty. So with the Boys and Girls Club, I actually did a workout regimen with the young girls, and they did a little boxing workout.
I guess I'm gonna do a little working out with you too. Now what I'm gonna need you to do, because I've started my New Year's resolution too. I've started Operation Drop 30 Pounds.
Okay, drop 30 pounds.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of mix in with all these amazingly beautiful people over here who are doing something.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna kind of show me some stuff too.
Perfect.
Or show me some stuff that you show the girls.
So I'm gonna show you a workout that you can do in the comfort of your own home. You don't need any equipment, because I hate excuses.
Okay.
A lot of people say, oh, I don't have a gym membership.
No excuses.
No excuses. A lot of people say, I don't have a gym membership, so I can't work out. Or a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I don't know what to do when I go into the gym, so I can't work out. But it's workouts that you could do in the comfort of your own home. It's workouts that you could do while you're cooking. It's workouts that you could do literally before you go to sleep. Like, it's a correlation.
Okay. Before you cook, before you go to sleep,
yes,
in the comfort
when you wake
of your
up
home.
in the morning.
That's perfect, and it costs you nothing.
And you don't need any weights. No, it costs you absolutely nothing except your energy and your mindset. All right, so the first thing, squats. That's the easiest thing, right? So when you're squatting, you want to make sure your toes do not go over you want to make sure your knees do not go over your toes. That's very important because the goal is to get healthy, not to get injured. Okay. So the first thing is just squatting down, coming up, squat down, come up. Okay, so the next one, right, are jump squats. So you do the same thing, and then you come up, okay? So you see how
many of these do I do?
25. You'll do 4 sets of 25. So you see how your heart rate's kind of coming up, and then it's targeting your glutes as well as your quads and your hamstrings at the same time.
Okay, how many was that? That was 25. Okay.
Yes. So the next thing you can do to target your legs and your quads, just come down to the left. Okay. So you're going, So in a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and just come down and come up.
Okay.
Good job. Everything you can do at home, 4 sets of 25.
4 sets of 25. Y'all got that? Okay.
Stationary lunges. So all you do, good job. Good job. Just make sure your knee is pointed forward, your toes are pointed forward, so that's absolutely perfect. And then just try to go down as low as you can go.
You mean like to the floor?
No. Don't touch the floor, but that's perfect form.
So that's the...
Yes. Anything that you do, you always just want to make sure that your knees do not extend your toes. Okay. Yes. So
that would also 25 of those?
Yes, 25 of those, and then you can also go backwards.
Have you noticed that she's not breaking a sweat? And I'm heaving a little bit over here.
So the same leg.
Before and back.
Yes.
Okay.
So your left leg is staying at the same spot the whole time. Good job. You feel it right here?
Oh, yes. Okay, this will be the last one. And 25. Okay.
Good job. You go as low as you can go, chest up. Perfect. And you're pulsing. You feel it in your quads.
I do.
I know. It's the simple stuff that hurts. If you have a bed at home.
You got a bed at home.
If you have a bed at home, what you could do is tap the bed or anything where you have leverage, but you want to make sure your hips are not moving. Okay, so you want to stay in a direct position. Okay. Lift your left arm. Good. Lift your right. Come on. Good. Lift your left. Good. Lift your right. Come on. Good. Okay, also, in this exact same movement, you could go down into a push-up. So go down, left, right, down, left, right.
Can you do a push-up?
Yes, you can. Let go.
Can I do a girl push-up?
No. Come on. Push. Good job.
Ooh, that's 25. Oh,
that was great, though. Really? Nutrition is the primary factor. You can't outwork a bad diet. So
you can't outwork a bad diet. That's fantastic.
Outwork a bad diet. Yeah.
Jessica Lane with HX Fitness for Joy in Our Town. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
The Atlanta Beltline has 22 miles of walking distance to rail transit and 33 miles of multi-use trails, along with more than 1,000 acres of parks. Next, I'd like to show you a behind-the-scenes view of Faith Farm Ministries. It's an organization out of Florida that's been around for more than 60 years. It's a drug and alcohol recovery program that's saving and changing lives. Here's Suzette Mailer with more.
Today, we're in Boynton Beach, Florida, taking a behind-the-scenes look at Faith Farm Ministries. Joining us will be their executive director, Mr. Dean Webb.
Welcome, Suzette. Hop on, I'll give you a ride.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for the tour, Dean. Tell us a little bit more about the history of Faith Farm and how it got started.
Well, last month was our 66th anniversary. We've been doing this for 66 years. Faith Farm's a 440-bed free residential drug and alcohol recovery program. Right here, we're at our thrift store right now. I'll show you that.
All right, let's take a look. So Dean, I must say, not just because I like to shop, how wonderful this thrift store is, but it's a thrift store with a purpose. Tell us more about the purpose here.
Well, the purpose is to fund the program, so it makes it free for the students who come in. It takes about $2,700 a month per man or woman per month for it to be free. So this is the revenue that we get that helps fund the free program.
And it's been busy all day, so I know you guys are very popular. Tell us some more about the client that you serve.
We've learned that drugs and alcohol have no bounds. We have everybody from homeless to very wealthy people that have lost everything from drugs. We have people that are uneducated, don't even have a high school diploma, all clients.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about how you've seen that client change with the opiate crisis. How has that impacted people in this area and beyond?
So our 66th annual anniversary here. First 22 years, it was almost all alcohol. Then it switched into recreational drugs, heroin and crack cocaine. And then we got into the opioid addiction and the painkiller addiction. And they say it's easier to break an addiction to heroin than it is OxyContin, for example. We've had more and more pain addiction from medication prescription than anything else recently.
So tell us how your substance abuse recovery program is different than the average program.
Well, first of all, it's faith-based. We deal with the inner issues of life that might have caused the addiction. Could be that they need to forgive parents, forgive situations that happen, but a lot of deep-seated forgiveness and dealing with the issues of life that got them addicted. That's what makes it different.
Alrighty, so we have now come to the repair shop. Dean, tell us about what takes place here.
We take appliances in, we refurbish them. If we can't, we take them all apart and sell the metal through our recycling plant.
Wow, so tell us a little bit more about your women's program.
It's a 20-bed free program, and they work at several different areas. Our main key area is the call center. They take incoming calls 6 days a week from people wanting us to come pick up and donations. So we've had 3 women get jobs at call centers.
That's excellent. So I know you're so proud of all the different programs here at Faith Farm Ministries. Tell us about one that stands out to you.
The main thing is probably our comprehensive work training program. We have 17 modules of training from food service to lawn care, and they actually have to pass with a 90% exam. And we've had students take their binders in and show what they've been trained in and get jobs with it.
Can you just describe how you've seen the hand of God move in this ministry?
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind is that bridge you crossed out there. It was condemned. It was a little 2-lane bridge. They condemned it. It was $1.1 million to replace, and we've never borrowed money, so we started praying and they started building, and the whole $1.1 million came in from all over the place, from restaurants, from China, from everywhere, to make that day within a year and a half of the construction.
That's
and everybody
amazing.
knew that the hand of God moved on that because they knew we didn't have the money.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful, wonderful testimony. In addition to all the testimonies you see in the lives of your individual clients as they recover from substance abuse.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been our pleasure to join you here at Faith Farm Ministries in Boynton Beach, Florida. Thank you, Mr. Dean Webb.
Thank you, Suzette, for coming. I appreciate it.
A pleasure.
All around the Atlanta Beltline, there's plenty to do. There are streetscapes, there are places to live, places to work, and places to eat. And there is public art all around. It's beautiful, right? Well, now I want to introduce you to a pharmacist. He used to be a traditional pharmacist, and now he's an herbal one. He says he understands the importance that medicine plays in all of our lives.
I'm David Foreman. I go by the herbal pharmacist. My background is actually in traditional pharmacy. I have a degree in pharmacy from the University of South Carolina. And along the way, I became a naturopathic doctor. And so now I specialize on educating people all over the globe on what it means to be healthy and how to achieve a healthy lifestyle. I feel like we do need to have dietary supplements as part of our everyday program. I don't think you can possibly get the nutrients from your food just because of the way things are grown these days and or the way they're harvested or the things that we spray on them. I don't think that's even a possibility anymore. I created about 20 years ago a concept I call the 4 pillars of health. And they really go with any disease, so I always say if you have a disease and you're trying to get rid of it, following my 4 pillars of health will get you where you need to be. But I also say if you're already healthy, they're gonna keep you where you're supposed to be. And they're very simplistic, and I feel like you need to have an equal portion of each. And the 4 are diet, which is how you eat, exercise, dietary supplements, and spirituality. And I feel like, it's funny because I've run into dietitians who say, oh, David, if I just eat the right diet, I really you know, I don't need to worry about working out, and I don't need to worry about my spirituality, or I don't need to take dietary supplements. And yet I've known dietitians that were the least healthy people, you know, that even ate the right foods. There are different areas that people maybe excel in, or I met a marathon runner who died of cancer. People will say, well, how does a guy that fit, who runs marathons competitively, die at such a young age? And it's because, you know, he might have been great at physical fitness, but if he wasn't taking, you know, the right foods, the right supplements, and have a good spiritual grounding. And for me, you know, Christianity's where it's all at. And the Bible does even tell us what to eat, but it also gives us, especially in the New Testament, the words that Jesus preached to us. We can claim healing, we can claim so many different things, and it's just knowing how to use all those. But I feel like you have to have all four. You can't just have one or two or three, and it's 4 pillars, because if you had a house and you had, you know, 4 pillars holding up the ceiling, you took a pillar away, it's gonna come down. And so we really need to have equal parts on all 4 of those. The body is definitely designed to heal itself. I mean, I feel like, you know, God put us on this planet. He gave us all the things that we need to nourish it, and if we treat the body right, it will heal itself.
We all know how important emergency responders are, especially when you need help immediately. Well, I want to introduce you to a full-time firefighter and paramedic who's been in the business for more than 30 years, and he has definitely seen some dark times. He started an organization called Sirens for the Cross.
Hi, I'm Tommy Nyman, and I'm a firefighter, paramedic, also as a chaplain. And I have been working in fire rescue for almost 33 years. My ministry that God has given me is called Sirens for the Cross. And it's just based on a book I wrote, sharing just many of the calls where I've seen God work in some powerful ways. I had a lot of calls in my past as a firefighter and paramedic that I could really share how God moved on scenes. And there's certainly some calls that we go on where I see some of my guys looking at a child that was just been snuffed out in a horrible way, or a family that's lost 2 members in a tragic car accident. There's no doubt that there's a lot of stress, especially on the scenes where something just critically has happened in someone's life. And whether their house is on fire and we need to go in and try to rescue someone, or on an emergency scene involving a traffic accident or a stabbing or a shooting or whatever occurs out there, that there's a need. And to be able to share with those guys that they can still have peace, and that peace being in none other than a relationship with Christ, and to know that they can turn that over to Him. The first thing is to pray for them, and then to just look for avenues and doors that God would open, whether it's just being with guys doing yard work at the station, or riding with them back from the calls, or just being on scenes after the incident has been taken care of. And those guys really having a moment where they ask some questions, and God clearly opens the door to be able to share with them about the peace they can have despite what they've just seen. Some of the most memorable moments, not in necessarily good ways for the family, but in very intimate ways, as far as those last few breaths that a person would take when I'm doing everything I can to save that life. Those cases where they don't make it. I just pray that in those last moments they made the most critical decision if they were able to hear. And had a really interesting heart attack victim we took in, and I really thought after we turned him over to the ER was going to pass on, because we didn't get a heartbeat despite all our efforts. We had to go out on another call and never went back to the hospital that day on any other calls. I would find out a couple years later that that particular guy remembered me praying over him and had run into one of the other responders on our crew that day and said, "Hey, I remember the guy that was praying over me while they were doing CPR on me." And he was able to recognize that crew member despite his unconscious state. And of course, when I got word of that, it was truly a blessing to know that, you know, people do have that moment where you may think they're gone, but they're still leaving their body. Their spirit, which we know lives eternally, was very much responsive. I truly believe the mission that God has given me is to just reach fellow responders with the realization that, first of all, we need the ultimate responder in Jesus Christ. There's no doubt about it. We can save a lot of lives physically, but eventually physical lives do die. And our need of the eternal rescuer in Jesus Christ for eternity is clear to see. And my mission is really to make that truth known, but also to my fellow first responders that are professing, believing children of God, that are Christ-centered with their life and their walk, that they would realize that even through their jobs as emergency responders, God can use them spiritually. And to call those guys and girls that respond in that emergency fashion to know that God can open doors to them to be spiritual responders as well as physical responders.
We all know how difficult working out can be. It can definitely be a challenge, but it's even more challenging for people who have something that affects their entire body. But trainers are learning more about how to help people who suffer with Parkinson's disease. Let's go to Alabama and find out more about Rock Steady Boxing.
It got started, there was a man named Scott Newman, and he was an attorney who was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Well, just out of the clear blue, he decided himself to start boxing. Well, he noticed when he boxed that when he would stop, his tremors were not bad. They would just stop. So he held his hands out one day and said, "I'm rock steady." So he decided to start this program called Rock Steady that is for Parkinson's patients, just for Parkinson's patients. And it is all about forced exercise, and there is something about the boxing, as they are boxing and moving, those kinds of things, that really will delay the symptoms of Parkinson's. It's truly been amazing. It shows you that there is such a need. The way Metro Fitness got involved is one of a lady that the man is now a client of ours, but long story short, her dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She volunteered in Birmingham at the Rock Steady program up there, and she saw what it had done for the patients up there. So she came to me and said, "Would you be interested in starting a program here?" And I said, "Absolutely." So because of her, we got the program started here at Metro Fitness, and it has been unbelievable, the response. It always starts out with a warm-up, which there's all kinds of movement just to get the body nice and warm. And the warm-up lasts anywhere from 15, 20 on up to 30 minutes. So we warm up the entire body, and we do fun things. Like today, we're gonna do the YMCA. So they've got to move, and things like that. It's a lot of movement. Plus, like last week, we did the cha-cha slide. So things like that are fun that get the body warm. I see the excitement. They can't wait to get here. I mean, you saw, they're coming in at 11 o'clock, and it doesn't start till 11:30. And every time they leave, they're happy. It brings me joy just to be able to do this program, because there is hope. Parkinson's is not a death sentence. It is not a death sentence. These activities, it is proven, it is not a theory, it is proven that these types of exercises that we do help delay the symptoms and the progression of Parkinson's.
You know, a lot of people decide to fast for the beginning of a new year, and Renee Beaver says fasting is really important for the spirit, soul, and body alignment.
This freedom from food awareness, is that any different than just food addiction?
Well, freedom from food kind of helps you to become aware that you are a food addict.
Okay.
It's really designed to answer the why.
Okay.
There's so many programs that provide you with the how and the what.
Okay.
So freedom from food really provides you with the why.
A part of what I always tell people is that tithing teaches you to be responsible for your money, and fasting teaches you to be responsible for your body, your mind, and your spirit. And so what this fasting season is designed to do, what makes ours different, is that we engage your mind. A part of fasting is just to abstain from food, But what we want you to do is we want you to kind of ask yourself the why. Why is food such a big force in your life? Or why does it have so much control? Why are you serving it instead of it serving you?
Food addiction struggle. It's a real thing. It's not just some made up imaginary deal.
No.
What's the issue with that?
I think a lot of times we live in a society where food is such a big part of our culture. And so while drug addiction and alcohol addiction is kind of set apart, food addiction kind of blends in, and it's going on behind the scenes because you don't know that someone is eating different in private than they do in public. And that's one of the big signs you're an addict, if you're eating in secret.
You ever heard of that term serial dieting?
Yes.
What's that? Expound on that.
Serial dieting is really where you're constantly looking for new ways to do the same thing. And so what Freedom from Food helps you to do is to kind of break that cycle of dieting over and over. Because for me, I started dieting in 11.
Okay.
The last few years were the first few years I wasn't dieting, looking for another how versus dealing with the why.
What have you learned about different behaviors? I mean, you got the different food addictions, and how can even prayer and the Word of God help someone with this plant-based lifestyle?
God designed us in His image and in His likeness, and there's a place that He put in our heart that only He can fulfill. And so many times the reason why we're looking for all these different hows is because we've not answered the right question, and that is, who is Christ in my heart? If we put Christ in the center of our heart, it kind of makes everything else fall into its proper place.
You're talking, I'm thinking, even back in the garden, I mean, they weren't necessarily eating meat. You think about the big giant dinosaurs or the big animals, they eat these plant-based food, and they're still strong and going. Right, so there may be something to this.
You have to address the mind, the body, and the spirit. Most programs address either your body or your mind or your spirit. We're one. You have to. We're just like God. We're three parts, and so you have to address that whole thing, the whole person, in order to get resolved and to get real. To learn to begin to live a life with fewer regrets through dealing with your mind, your body, and your spirit.
Well, Zach, you got to taste it. So
Okay.
here's a delicious plant-based meal. We have black-eyed peas with quinoa. We have a kale and cherry salad, and we have crispy, crunchy tofu and cheesy grits.
Okay, I'm gonna try these grits. Let's see. Here we go. Grits, quinoa. What else we got? Now cookies.
And you can't leave. You have to have room for dessert.
Okay,
These
thank
are
you.
totally plant-based, animal-free cookies. Chocolate chip.
Animal-free cookies, plant-based meal. Well, I'm about to eat these cookies. At least take a bite of one and have some milk. Atlanta, back to you.
You remember at the top of the show I said that there were a lot of places to eat in and around the Atlanta Beltline? Well, that's what we're about to do. So that's all the time we have for now. Thank you so much for watching Joy in Our Town on TBN. I'm your host, Jaquetta Williams, and I'll see you next time. Bye.